Today, I'm going to talk about workshop 12, research. Type of research is going to be quantitative research. What is quantitative research? Quantitative research is any data that can count or measure anything. Now, the other type of research is called qualitative data. We're going to talk about that probably in workshop 14. Today's focus is going to be on quantitative data as it relates to demographics. So there are different types of quantitative research that we can use, but today's is going to talk about demographics. In other workshops, we're going to talk about workshops using quantitative research to define the why something happens. So that being said, today's workshop is going to be on collecting the data. We're going to be looking at data sets and data points that support the need statement. We're going to be looking at 7, maybe 8 different websites where we can gather different types of information in order to support the claim that there is a problem. So sit back, get ready, and I hope that this information will be able to help you to take you to the next level in terms of your skill sets related to your nonprofit. The first site I want to share with you is called Area Vibes. So let's look at what kind of data we can get from this particular site. And then we're going to visit some other sites. For example, what we did here was to put in a particular community. Now notice here, when you go to this box, you can put in an address, a neighborhood, a city, a zip code, etc. So we decided to use this particular community in Philadelphia. So quickly, we can look at some key findings about this particular location. We can look at, for example, crime in this particular area, cost of living. I'm going to be going fast because it's a lot of information that I'm going to cover today. Other information we can get from this particular site on this particular neighborhood is livability, real estate, and rent. We also can get information on the population, the median age, how many kids are under 18, what are the schools like? Now, we can also come back to the site and then get some demographics. Let's look at some demographics. Okay, here we go. And looking at the demographics, we can get information related to population, median age, male-female ratio. See what else can we get from this site? Unfortunately, we have a slow connect. We can get information about language, race, breakdown, white, black, household income distribution, place of birth, age, a breakdown in terms of age, and age of children in age of children in married company and married couples. I cannot pronounce that word children's. Always had a problem with that. But anyway, I think what you can take from this is that we can get a lot of information from this site. So let's go back and see if we can get any other information. This is as much as we need from this site. Sit back and let's go to the second site so that we can begin to look at information gathered from there. This is going to be an in-depth presentation on how to do in-depth research and collect the data on demographic information. Another way you can collect data for your community is this site called zip codes. Now, I put in zip code 19126. And when I did that, it's going to give me all the information related to this zip code. Let's look at some of the information. It's going to give me population, housing units, median home income. I can find estimated population over time, total population, gender, head of household by age, families versus singles, household with kids, children by age, real estate and housing. You can look at when the house was built, housing occupancy, but when you break down the type of occupancy, owners, vacancies as well as not only can you identify areas that are vacant, but why. That's important. This is some in-depth information. When I say vacancy reasons, that is why, if you look in your neighborhood, why are those houses vacant, or is that establishment vacant? You can get that information from me. Got long-winded, sorry about that. The other thing you can find is information like owner-occupied home value. For some people, this is too much information. For other people that do in-depth research, this is going to be a gold mine. You can also determine the cost of monthly rent, including utilities in your particular zip code. You can look at income, employment, earnings, and work in your neighborhood. For example, you can look at employment status, average household income over time, household income, annual individual earnings. This is some in-depth drill down information that you can use to get a clear picture of what does your community look like. Sources of income. So this goes on, retirement, sources of earning, transportation, school and education, and schools. Okay, hold on, let's go to the next. if you're trying to get numbers related to crime in your neighborhood, this is a good source, and you can find information by zip code. And there's some other software that's really good as well. But for the purpose of this presentation, we're going to use this because it's easy. So let's say I put down this particular area code, 33603. Let's hit enter. When I do that, as you can see, I can get information related to the safest and the most dangerous places in this particular zip code. You can do this for any zip code. Let's look at the information you can get related to crime. Well, first of all, they give you a breakdown of overall crime, property crime, violent crimes, and more. And they give you a breakdown of overall crime. And the area that we put in, 33603, it gets a D, a minus D in terms of violent crime, in terms of property crime, it gets a C, and in terms of other crimes, it gets a D plus. A crime occurs every 11 hours in this particular zip code. Now that might sound like a lot, but in some areas where I'm working in Baltimore, a crime occurs in every 8 minutes. So while you might think, and it is, 11 hours is a problem. In some communities, it's like it's in minutes and not in terms of hours. Okay, so this is a good source of information. Again, it talks about how safe it is, and it gives you a breakdown why it gets to the grade C. Again, I love this map right here. You can go on this map, and it's supposed to interact with you. Let me hit. I hit that button. Okay, so anyway, that didn't work out as much as I wanted it to work out. But you see this, what I'm trying to get across. So this is important because this map also allows you to interpret the crime maps. That's going to be important. And then it's probably we'll get to this section on the breakdown of crime in the neighborhood. See, you can get violent crime, property crime rates, and other crime rates, and it gives a breakdown. It also gives a breakdown that you can use, that we can click on, and you can see what does it look like when it comes to these different types of crimes. And you can go to the site and then you can click on these individuals. And then finally, you can compare your zip code to other zip codes. Yeah. And okay. Now let's go to the next site. As you can see, this is going to be a treasure of sites where you can gather that quantitative demographic information that you're going to need to make an argument in your needs statement. So let's go to the next site. Another site that you can go to get a treasure of information is city-data.com. Now, it's a couple ways that you can tap into data points and data sets using this white website. You can go by the state, as you can see. By a city, Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. I could have also gone by the community as well, a particular community. You could have gone by your neighborhood community. But for this purpose, I'm looking at the city as a whole. But you can, you can drill down with the software to your community. And matter of fact, to your zip code as well. And I think that you might be able to do your census. I'm not sure. Well, there is software you can do that to get information all the way down to the census level. We're going to talk about that later on and at another site. So let's look at what we can get from this particular site here. We can get information like population. Now, most of the information from the site is going to be based on 2019. It's going to be important because it's still the most comprehensive information. We're going to then look at other data, like the census tract, that's going to give us the most recent data. But this is important because this is going to give us a lot of in-depth information. So, having said that, let's continue. As you can see, medium household income, per capita income. For some of you, this information is too much. But for others of you that has the responsibility of being able to gather up the real hard numbers, this is going to be intriguing. Let's continue. You could get information based on race in Philly. And then you can break down the the race into groups. You can break down crime. And they give you a chart that you can use to break down crime. And you can do it in what we call over a period of time. And that's important because you can compare trends to see, is it getting better or is it getting worse? Other information includes full-time law enforcement. I'm going to move quickly because there's some other sites we want to get to. Other information you can get, as you can see, the number of people that are foreign born, medium real estate taxes. As you can see, as a movie, you can get a lot of good information from this site. Single family new house construction permits. This can drill down so much information. And because it's so much information, I'm not going to try to read everything. I'll be here all day. I'm going to slow down so you can see the in-depthness on how you can gather information. Bear with me. I don't want to go too fast. As you can see, this is a lot of information. I'm going to keep on going. Some of you by now are saying I can't take no more. The others of you who are still here are saying, yes, this is what I've been looking for. As you can see, man, it is so much data here. And I'm gonna go quicker now. Okay, so I think you get my point. They got more information, but I'm worn out. Let's go to the next site and see what can we get from that site. I get it. I know how to arm myself, to use the tools necessary to tell the story, to represent the people that you represent as a nonprofit. So let's go to the next presentation. Now, this site right here is only for those that are in the state of Florida. But a similar site exists in every state. Might be the Maryland Department of Health, it might be the New York Department of Health, but every health department has a site like this where you can gather some important data about the health in your community. Let's look at some information that this site provides. And keep your attention over here. Well, look at this. They can tell you life expectancy. And they probably will break it down by age, by race, and they probably use some other indicators. They can also give you community maps, so you can map out health in your neighborhood. The other thing, and I think this is important, they provide both social and economic factors that can contribute to one's health. If I clicked on this, it probably will be a list of data sets that we could tap in, and we could then break it down to data points. But it's a wealth of health information. Now, it also allows us to look at profiles and other dashboards. For example, we can look at health equality or lack thereof. We can look at different summaries when it comes to health. We can look at health as it relates to weight, as injuries. We can look at injury. What is the most likely injury for a senior citizen, or for a young person, or at a workplace, or anything related to injuries? We can get that data here. We also can look at population specific African Americans, and we can break that down to specific health issues that's associated in part with being African American or any other ethnic group or group. Okay, let's continue. As you can see by right now, if you enter research right now, you're sitting back saying, yes, these are the tools that I need to help fight and present the evidence necessary to get the money to bring in to our community. It's nonprofit, you rock. So let me continue on. So let's continue on related to this site right here. The other information you can get from this site includes chronic diseases, behavioral risk factors. That's going to be important. You can look at what about youth related to tobacco. You can get that information. Injuries and violence. This is important. If you want to look at the number, if you want to talk about the level of violence in your community, this is where you go at to get that data to show the violence associated with your community, the type of violence, and compare it to other areas to see, is your area, and compare it to other areas as well. So you can also get information related to the birth, deaths. This is a wealth of information here. I'll be all day long if I keep stopping trying to get the different sets that you can tap, data sets that you can click on to get the information that you need. So let's go to the last and final data set. Now this is going to be the final piece, the final site that we're going to go to for this particular lesson. Now, with this site right here, as you can see, is reference solutions. You can get a wealth of information. We're going to highlight some, and I'm going to click on the one I want to share with you. So we can get information about United States businesses here, US jobs and interns, new businesses that just getting started. This is important if you're putting together a business plan, by the way. We can get information about the healthcare industry, information, and this is important also if you're doing a business plan, or if you're just trying to find information about your market in terms of where are the consumers. You can learn the consumers, especially lifestyles here. Another thing you can do here, and this is called the United Standard White Pages. If you're trying to get some information, let's click on this. related to your community on the street level. And you're trying to get like demographic and economic information that you need to use in order to show how bad the problem is in your community. Let's show how you can do it. Let's put in here Tampa, Tampa Palms. We click here. Let's click view results. And what you see when we go to this particular community, Tampa Heights, or Tampa Pines, I think it was, we can drill all the way down to the street level. And we can get information, let's click here, that will help us in putting together a needs statement. We can go all the way down to the address. We can go down to what is the income in that household. We can go down to the value of that particular house. All this information is critical in terms of drilling down to get a real picture as to the degree of the problem in your neighborhood. Again, this information is only will give you like economic information and household value information. That's the only data you can get from here. But you can see how you can drill down to the individual street level. We also use this strategy as a community organizing strategy. That's how we're able to mobilize and organize neighborhoods. For example, in West Tampa would be a key example of that. This brings to the conclusion of this presentation on understanding data and how to collect the demographic data. One of the takeaways that I hope that you get from this particular presentation is that data is important. And being able to show different data sets and different references that you can use to tell a story about the problem in your neighborhoods. Now, this will put you in a better position in order to complete the needs statement. And this needs statement is one of the first hurdles you have to get through in writing a good grant proposal. Or this information is good so you can learn about your community. From the Center of Nonprofit and Community Development, I hope this has helped you. Please, if you want additional information about the things that we do, email us at the Center for Nonprofit and Community at gmail.com, or give us a call, 813-857-7657. Learn about the different types of workshops that we do offer to nonprofits. This is one of many different types of workshops that we offer. But I hope this workshop has been in some kind of way helpful, because knowledge is power. But knowledge without actually putting it to use is just a lot of information. So I hope you can take this information and convert it really into power to represent your community. Thanks again. Get in contact with me. Again, we provide a number of different services, including teaching individuals how to go to these different sites and how to use these sites to put together reports that you can use to submit when you're doing a grant. So we actually teach you how to gather the data, put it into a report, so you can report it out to your board of directors, to a grantor, to a government agency, to an investor. So call us. We can gather the specific information for your community in terms of helping you to tell your story. Again, thank you. This has been a long presentation. I think I've done this about 4 or 5 times, but I wanted to get it right. I thought this presentation, out of all the presentations that I've done thus far, was probably one of the most powerful, because knowledge is power.